Good afternoon, everybody. Buenos días a todos. Welcome to the April 2023 Portside Community Steering Committee meeting. Bienvenidos a la reunión del Comité Directivo de la Comunidad Portside de abril 2023. Vamos a darle unos poquitos segundos. We'll give it a few moments for folks to join us. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Gracias a todos por reunirse con nosotros. Great. Next slide, please. At this moment, I'll hand over the mic over to Vicky, one of our interpreters for today's meeting, to go over instructions on how to access interpretations.
Thank you. The interpreter will give the instructions first in Spanish and then I will go to English. Bienvenidos a todos y muchas gracias por acompañarnos hoy. Antes de empezar la reunión, le vamos a explicar otra vez las funciones necesarias para acceder a la interpretación simultánea al español. Si están utilizando su computadora portátil o computadora escritorio, favor de localizar el icono con figura de globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla cuando este aparezca en un minuto y luego pulsen en interpretación de lenguaje, Language Interpretation, y seleccionen el idioma español. Si están conectándose desde su teléfono, iPad o dispositivo similar, busquen el menú con los tres puntitos en la esquina superior del lado derecho de su pantalla y pulsen Interpretación de lenguaje, Language Interpretation y luego Español. Esto permite que escuchen la traducción al español con un 80% de volumen y el audio en inglés se escuchará al fondo con un 20% de volumen. Tienen la opción de apagar el audio en inglés pulsando Mute Original Audio, ubicado en el mismo menú donde eligieron el idioma español. Gracias. Ahora la intérprete va a pasar a lo del inglés. If you are an English-only speaker and you are attending this meeting, you will need to go to if you are on a laptop or a desktop computer, in a few moments at the bottom of your screen will be a globe figure. Click on that and then choose English as your channel. If you are connecting from a telephone, an iPad, or other intelligent device, you'll be looking for the three dots at the top right of your screen and pulse on language interpretation and then choose English. And that way you will be able to hear anything that is spoken in Spanish on the English channel. And that concludes the instructions for the English and the Spanish channels. Eso concluye las instrucciones de los canales. Vamos a esperar que aparezca el globo. We will now wait for the globe to appear in the appropriate places.
Okay, thank you so much, Vicky. Muchas gracias, Vicky. Ahora puede acceder el globo para acceder la interpretación. For those who need interpretation, the globe button is now available in your screen. Can someone confirm that the Spanish interpretation channel is working? Great. Great, we'll move along. Once again, thank you everybody for joining us today. This is the fourth meeting of the Portside Steering Committee of the year. And today we'll be discussing several items directly related to the Community Emissions Reduction Plan. Next slide, please. So I'll do a quick run through to today's meeting objectives and the agenda. So for today's key objectives is to receive an update and provide feedback to the Air District on its Clean Air for All incentive funding program, as well as the Portside Air Quality Improvement and Relief Program. Following that, we'll be having 2 discussions, one about the California Air Resources Board's Portside Air Toxic Modeling and Risk Assessment, as well as the Port of San Diego's Portside Health Risk Assessment. Next slide, please. And then for today's agenda, we'll, as a standard meeting, go over roll call. And we have a few general updates that folks want to bring up to the group. Following that, we'll call for a vote and approval of the March meeting notes and tonight's agenda. And then we'll move on to the agenda items for today's meeting, including the update on the Clean Air for All incentive funding and PAIR programs, and a discussion on the Port of San Diego's Health Risk Assessment and CARB's Air Toxic Modeling and Risk Assessment. And I do want to flag Margarita todavía anda teniendo problemas con la interpretación. Margarita, si puede decirme si puede acceder a la interpretación, favor de mandarme un chat. Great. And following the 3 items on the agenda, we'll move on to a general public comment period and closing remarks. And then going over our meeting agreements, we ask for folks to please create space for everyone to contribute, to step up. If you haven't yet contributed to the conversation, and step back if you have. We ask for only one person to speak at a time. Since we are doing live interpretation, we ask folks to please listen to each other, respect each other's opinion, knowledges, and perspectives. And to be conscious of time, and we'll do our best to make sure we're all out by 7. And then lastly, to please speak slowly and clearly for our interpreters. Now I'll hand it over to my colleague Ana, who will be doing a quick roll call of the CSC members.
Great, thank you, Chewy. Let me just pull up the roll call sheet. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do roll call right now. So when I call your name, please say hello or say that you're here. That way we're able to mark you as present for today's meeting. So first we have Keith Corey, and they did let us know that they'll be a little late to this meeting. So we'll go ahead and move along. Is Shelby Busso here? Shelby. Jack Monger.
I'm here, thank you. Good evening.
Hello, Jack. Is Massey Hatch here as well?
Yes, good evening, I'm here.
Good evening. Thank you, Massey. Sarah, I know I saw you earlier.
Yes, I'm here. Good evening.
Good evening, thank you. Is Lydia Bayeser here as well?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Commissioner Sandy Naranjo. Not seeing. Okay. Is Phil Gibbons here?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Phil, thank you. Tim Garrett.
Here.
Hi, Tim, thank you. Mariela Rodriguez.
Mariela here.
Thank you, Mariela. Nick Paul.
I'm here.
Hi, Nick, thank you. Joy Williams.
Good evening, I'm here.
Good evening. Thank you, Joy. Martin Reeder.
Yeah, Martin Reeder, City of National City, present. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Martin. Is David Welch here as well?
No, he will not be attending.
Great, thank you. Roman Partida Lopez.
Hey, y'all, here.
Hey, thank you. Stephanie Yu, Dr. Stephanie Yu.
Hi, I'm here.
Hi, Stephanie, thank you. Is Alejandro Diaz here as well? Let's see, Alejandro.
Anna, we can remove Alejandro from the list. He did.
Okay. Next, Diane.
I'm here.
Hi, Diane, thank you.
Hey.
Samantha.
Good evening, I'm present.
Hello, good evening, thank you. Dinah Willier.
I'm here and Liana will not be here.
Okay, great. Thank you for letting us know. Filomena Marino.
Filomena Marino present.
Thank you. Janice Reynoso. Not seeing Janice on the list. John.
I'm here.
Hi, John, thank you. Hillary Medina. Not seeing Hillary. Alicia Sanchez.
Presente.
Hola, Alicia. Margarita Moreno.
Present.
Hola, Margarita. Naomi Sanchez. Naomi. Vanessa Contreras.
Here.
Thank you, Vanessa. Salvador.
Present.
Hi, Salvador, thank you. Montserrat Hernandez.
Presente.
Hola, Montserrat, gracias. Silvia Calzada.
Good evening, present.
Good evening, thank you, Sylvia. Ashley Valentin also let us know that she'll be late. Oh, great.
Got out early.
Okay. Thank you. Josephine Salamantes. Not seeing Josephine on the list. And last, Maritza Garcia.
Here. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Here.
Thank you. All right. And with that, we meet quorum for today's meeting. Thank you all.
Great, thank you, Anna. Then moving along to our general update section, I wanted to hand it over first to our Air District staff on a few updates.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Just a couple of things. As you recall, we are now having our quarterly in-person meetings. Just a reminder that next meeting in May is scheduled to be an in-person meeting, and we are also alternating between locations. So we're hoping to secure a space in National City. So just wanted to give everybody a heads up about that, and we will be following up later once we have secured a location in National City. And then as a reminder also, that for the Bay meeting, a large portion of the meeting will be dedicated to doing breakout sessions with the different subcommittees as a space to have their initial subcommittee meeting in May. So just wanted to remind folks about that. And that's it from my end, Chewy. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Domingo. Moving along, I have Peter Nguyen from UC Davis.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thanks, Chewy and the facilitation team and the Air District for giving us time to make a quick announcement. Yeah, my name is Peter Nguyen. I'm a grad assistant for an AB 617 study at UC Davis under Professor Jonathan London, who spoke, I believe, a couple months ago at the last meetings. And part of our study, we're doing a statewide survey, and I'm sure you've probably seen it through the emails that the survey was sent out to all the CSCs. So part of our study is we want to understand from all the stakeholders involved and all of you guys, your feedback on, the successes and challenges of AB 617 implementation and areas for improvement. And the survey takes about 10 to 15 minutes, pretty short. And for resident members, we are offering a raffle of one of 5 gift cards. And the deadline we just extended it to May 12th to complete. And yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know or Professor Jonathan London. I believe that contact was also emailed out in the email, but I'll also post the links and our contact info in the chat as well. But yeah, appreciate any feedback that you have and just appreciate all the time that you put into the survey. But thank you.
Great. Thanks, Peter. Moving along, Phil from Port of San Diego.
Thanks, Chewy. Good evening, everyone. I just had 3 quick announcements for the group that I thought you'd all like to hear. First, at the April board meeting of the Port of Board Commissioners, they approved funding for a shore power system down at the National City Marine Terminal. So this is infrastructure to support ships when they come into berth or to the dock to unload, that they can actually turn off their engines and plug into grid power. So that reduces those emissions from those vessels while they're operating down in National City. And I think that's an $8 million project. So that's going to go a long way to cleaning up and improving air quality along the Portside communities. So we're excited about that project. I also wanted to let folks know that a variety of agencies and nonprofit groups have been working together to educate truck drivers that come to the Port of San Diego about zero emission trucks, upcoming regulations, incentive funding, so they can begin to procure those types of vehicles. So the port has partnered with the Environmental Health Coalition, CalSTART, which is a clean transportation advocacy group, APCD staff, as well as staff from the San Diego Gas and Electric to join together to provide resources to truck drivers. So it's been a great regional partnership focusing on zero emission trucks. And then lastly, I wanted to let everyone know that in May, we celebrate Maritime Month. So this celebrates our maritime heritage in San Diego. And we're going to have a couple of events that are going to be open to the public. On May 19th, there'll be an event at Pepper Park where we'll have food trucks and celebration of Maritime Month, and then offering a tour of the National City Marine Terminal via a bus. And then on May 21st, that same type of event will occur at Cesar Chavez Park, and there'll be a tour of the National City Marine Terminal. Those people will need to sign up for those in advance to at least go on the tour. So I'll send out a link to our website later this week where that announcement will be made and people can sign up for that. But we recognize that those may get booked quickly. And so our staff at the port has offered an opportunity for the Portside Steering Committee to do a exclusive tour of our terminal. So date to be determined, but I'll work with Domingo and Chewy and Monique to reach out to the group to see when an appropriate date would be, probably in that mid-May, late May kind of timeframe. And hopefully you guys can join us for a trip out to our marine terminals to see it in person. That ends my updates. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Moving along, I have Sarah Giovi. And then I have you, Tim, next.
Thank you. Well, so first of all, thanks, Chewy, for sending out the information to the group about the notice of availability of the draft environmental impact report for a project that NASCO has in front of the port. So I'm really excited to announce this because this will be the replacement of our floating dry dock, which is, some of you are familiar with it. It's a submersible platform that allows us to take ships in and out of the water for repair. And the really great thing about this project is it's replacing our existing dock in exactly the same position, same size and everything. But that dock is nearing the end of its useful life. It came into service in the 80s. And the nice thing about it is that the new dock will have a Tier 4 diesel emergency generator, replacing the last Tier 0 diesel engine in the shipyard. So that's really good news from a clean air perspective. Most of the time that dock operates on shore power. The emergency generator is just there for standby in case of emergency operations. So I just wanted to call people's attention that that document is available. It's an environmental planning document at the port's website. And the port is accepting comments on this through Friday, June 2nd. So if you have comments or you want to give in your 2 cents worth, that this is the way to do it, and just want to make sure everybody was aware of the deadline. So that's it. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much, Sarah. Tim?
Thanks, Chewy, and good evening, everyone. Quick announcement here. So this Friday, April 28th at 9 a.m., the SANDAG Board of Directors is going to be participating in the first of a two-part workshop on the 2025 regional plan based on federal and state requirements for the plan, feedback from the California Air Resources Board on the 2021 regional plan, and then schedule and milestones for plan development. So this is the first of many meetings, public meetings that the Board of Directors will be having on the 2025 regional plan. So many more opportunities to participate in the future, but want to put that on people's radar in case they're able to attend or listen in. Meetings are held in person, but it's possible to participate online or in person to make any comments or listen in via Zoom. So I'll put the link in the chat that has the agenda and then the link to the Zoom for that. So thanks.
Great. Thanks so much. I think that concludes our updates for today. Moving along to our next agenda item. I wanted to open it up for the steering committee meeting to approve last month's draft meeting notes and tonight's agenda.
Martin Reeder, National City, motion to approve.
Great, we have a motion from Martin Reeder.
Maritza, second.
And the second from Maritza Garcia. Great, thank you. And is there anyone opposed to the motion on the floor to approve the March meeting notes and tonight's agenda? Hearing and seeing none. So the agenda and notes are approved. Thank you, everybody. And now I wanted to hand it over to the Air District team, Kathy and Eric, who will be providing an update on its incentive programs, and we'll be running a few questions to gather feedback from you all to help inform the direction of the program.
Yay! Thanks, Chewy. Thanks, everyone. We're excited to see everybody tonight. I'm going to do a quick update on our incentive programs, and then I'm going to turn it over to our new Supervising Air Resources Specialist, Eric Luther, to talk about the PAIR program tonight. So if I could have the next slide, please. So today we're going to talk about a couple of things that relate directly to the SERP actions, particularly action B1, which is adding additional flexibility for mobile source incentives. So we're going to talk about our zero emission truck pilot program and our AB 617 funding as part of that. And then we're also going to talk about action B3, which is our efforts to reduce exposure to air pollution. And we'll be talking about potentially expanding and funding the Portside Air Improvement and Relief, or the PAIR program, which is our program to do monitors and air filters for residents. Next slide, please. I just wanted to give you a quick update on our latest incentive applications. We opened for applications in January for the first round of applications. We received 238 applications in that solicitation for about $83 million in requested funding. We know that we won't have that much demand at the end of the day. It's a big number. It looks like a big number right now, but we know that some of the projects won't qualify and some of the projects won't qualify for nearly the amount of money requested. So we're evaluating those now. If you have an application in this first round of applications and you have not heard from us, please reach out. You should have received by now a notice from our team to say whether your application was complete or whether we needed more information. If you received a request for more information, we ask that you please send that back as soon as you can so we can go through all of these projects. We have a staff of 4 people who are evaluating those 238 applications, so they have a big workload ahead of them. We are once we do that preliminary evaluation, we'll find out which projects would benefit our AB 617 communities, and we'll bring that list back to the community later this year for your feedback. Next slide, please. I just want to mention on our traditional program, we're accepting applications now for a backup list. So if you're someone who wanted to submit an application and missed that initial window, but still wants to participate, we're still accepting applications for that. But they'll go on a backup list for evaluation probably later this year. For our zero emission truck pilot project, which we started this year. And if you remember, we talked about this, I think at our last meeting or the meeting before, where we have about $4 million, which is about 16 trucks worth of money to provide incentives for people to buy new zero emission trucks that work in Portside, do 52 trips a year in Portside community. We have 12, I'm happy to say we have 12 applications for that program. Thank you to EHC and the Port. As Phil mentioned, they've been really spearheading an outreach program to educate people about zero emission trucks. And that is paying off. We have 12 applications for this program currently, and we're very excited about that. We're bumping those applications toward the beginning of the line, so we'll hope they'll go a little faster than our traditional applications. So in the next couple of months, we're hoping to fund those projects. And thank you, Chewy, for putting the grants website on that slide. If you want more information, you can do that, or I'll put my information in the chat so that if you have questions or need more information, you can reach out directly to me. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Eric, and he's going to talk a little bit about our PAIR program tonight.
All right, thanks, Kathy. And hello, everyone. Just wanted to introduce myself. I attended these meetings many years ago, but it's been quite a while. So I'm Eric Luther, Supervising Air Resources Specialist, working with Kathy in the Planning Incentives Group. I took on this new role probably a few months ago, taking over the PAIR program from Nick Cormier, who you've probably heard from about this program. So tonight, just going to talk a little bit about the PAIR program, where it is right now, and then the potential if we want to possibly expand that program. So as I'm sure you know, the PAIR program, it provides monitors and purifiers to Portside residents This program has been going on for probably about 1.5 years, and it will be ending later this year at the end of October of 2023. So where we're at actually as of from the last report that we received from EHC, who's helping us to administer the program, there has been 356 total air monitors installed so far, and 347 air purifiers installed. So they're making very good progress, and all the devices will probably be in well before October, actually. So with it being close to the end of the program, we did want to give a little survey tonight to kind of ask some questions about potential expansion of the program. So if we could do the survey now.
Thanks everyone, and confirming that folks can see the poll on your screen right now.
It says that hosts and panelists cannot vote.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
It says that hosts and panelists cannot vote.
Got it. Johnny, can you change the settings, please?
Yes.
I think you might need to end the poll first.
Okay, we've relaunched it. Is it showing up now?
Still says hosts and panelists cannot vote. There we go. Eric, do you want to read through those questions just so people know kind of what we're asking them?
Sure. So question number 1, on a scale from 1 to 4, how satisfied are you with the PAIR program? 4 being very satisfied and 1 being not satisfied at all. And then question 2, based on what you know about the PAIR program, what improvements would you recommend? And then that's just writing in your answer. The third question, do you want to see the program continue and expand? Yes, no, or unsure would be your answers. And fourth question, are you in support of using money from the Community Air Protection Program to fund and expand the PAIR program? And that's also yes, no, or unsure.
Thanks. So we'll give people a few minutes to kind of fill in your answers and submit those.
How are we doing with the questions so far? Can we tell how many have been submitted already?
Yeah, we're at 50%.
Okay.
For some reason, my app closed.
Did you have a chance to submit, John?
Yeah, for some reason, I don't know why, but the survey just went away.
I think it does that once you submit, but we'll bring back the results with the questions. Great, maybe we can give it one more minute. Since I know not everyone on the call is going to participate, so I think.
We need a little Jeopardy music in the background.
Yes, we do. I was just thinking about that.
Take a minute to thank everyone for participating in the survey and giving us feedback. It's really important for us to hear from all of you about how you think the program's going and if you would like to support expanding it. And we'll talk about the survey results in a second. So.
Great. Giving folks 5 more seconds before we share the results and open it up for discussion. Great.
All right, so I think we can just maybe start on question 1. So again, this was on a scale of 1 to 4. How satisfied are you with the PAIR program? We had 39% saying very satisfied, 26% saying satisfied, 4% saying somewhat satisfied, and 30% saying unsure and need more information. So I guess that does make sense. So I think it looks like we do have a hand raised. John?
Yes, I've actually been doing quite a bit of research on this. And of course, the filters do help. But, my analogy is that, grandma and grandpa got one, but the kids in the next room did not get one of the filters. So what I've been looking at are these mini wall splits that not only provide air conditioning and heat, but they also clean the air before it even comes into your building. Okay. Now, if you need it, I was talking with David Alvarez on this, and he has asthma and some other issues. But if your doctor basically says you need this for health reasons, okay, you could write it off on your taxes. Okay. But in addition to that, I really honestly believe that this is an answer that would really help with many of the older homes in our area because they attach right to the wall. You don't have to have a bunch of ventilation systems and so on and so forth. So I've asked a couple of companies to consider making me, if you will, the poster child in the neighborhood so that community members could come and actually see the units as to what they are and what they do. Now, the filter systems, they're wonderful, but that means all of those pollutants have to come in. Now they're on your clothes, your furniture, it's everywhere, okay? And worse yet is, like I said, for many of the children, they're getting sick on us. And I work with 10 different schools and up to 2,500 kids. And this is a huge health risk. I knew David when he was just a little guy, and he succumbed to much of the pollutants from one of the welding companies. But that being said, these mini splits have an amazing track record as to what they're able to filter out before the air even comes into your building. So my whole thing is, why not? If we're going to err in the, in terms of functionality, let's do what we can to get mini splits into as many homes as we possibly can. You know, first, maybe particularly to those who were, you know, having issues, medical issues like myself. But I would really like for you guys to reach out to me, and so that I can show you some of the pollutants that are coming in into my own place. I'm right here on Logan Avenue. So I'm right in the heart of Barrio Logan. And it's absolutely amazing what this equipment can do. So I'm 110% for this. And I would hope people would jump on the bandwagon. You know, I've talked to several, like I said, people, and are they expensive? Well, they're a little expensive, but it's a whole lot cheaper than a, you know, surgery.
Great, thank you, John. Really appreciate the feedback. Want to see if there's anyone else who wanted to share any improvements they'd like to make to the program that they added to the poll. Sylvia?
Yes, thank you, Chewy. So I personally, my family and I participated in this program, and we really enjoyed it. It's been a great difference in our home. But I have had some comments in regards to other residents within this community or National City. Many of them who are and have asthma, but we're not able to participate because of the map that it has, the constrictions to that. So perhaps they could expand that map that you guys have and support those who are in great need, especially those who has asthma or any other respiratory diseases. So, but it's working very good in my opinion. I've had some great feedback from Paradise Creek Apartments. So yeah, congratulations. Things are working out. So thank you so much for your help.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and certainly for, you know, if the program continues and expands, we'll certainly be looking at all available equipment, and then certainly be looking at, you know, additional zip codes, additional communities throughout San Diego that could definitely benefit from this program. All right.
Thank you.
Some more hands there.
Great. Montserrat. And friendly reminder.
Sí, voy a decir mi comentario en español. De acuerdo con ampliar el programa, porque nosotros en la DHC hemos estado ofreciendo este programa, y una de las cosas que me ha frustrado mucho es que, por ejemplo, Alicia Sánchez es parte aquí del comité, solamente por el lugar donde vive no calificó, y sabemos que realmente su familia lo necesita por su esposo, sobre todo, ¿verdad? Que y sus enfermedades que tiene su esposo. Entonces eso sí me frustra, ¿verdad? No poder ofrecerles el programa a familias como ella, que ha estado tan involucrada con el AB 617.
Thanks, Montserrat. Gracias. Nick?
Heather, can you hear me okay, Chui?
Yes.
Beautiful. Yeah, so I just want to echo what Silvia and Montserrat were talking about as far as expanding. You know, I think, you know, thinking kind of more regionally, you know, we have several communities here in San Diego that are ranked in the top 75% in as far as the Cal EnviroScreen pollution burden. And so, you know, I'm thinking about communities in City Heights where EHC also has a group of folks, a team at folks down at the border AB 617 community, I think can benefit a lot from a program like this. And so, yeah, we need more. I think this program is beautiful and we need to continue to invest in it. So I'm really happy to have this conversation.
Great. Thanks, Nick. Hand it back over to you, Eric.
Okay, great. Yeah, and thank you for all that feedback. So it sounds like, it looks like by the survey here about see the program continue and expand, we had 78% yes. And then the 22% being unsure, probably most of those are the folks that maybe don't know enough about the program to really answer that question. If we were to assume that we would expand the program when this one is over, so some things that were already brought up that we would have to think about is, we have existing vendors and existing equipment that's used, but I think we should certainly, and I'd like maybe, hear any other opinions, expand and look at other types of equipment that might help, just as John mentioned. Definitely expanding to more areas throughout San Diego, knowing that this first version of PAIR was pretty limited to certain areas. Would there be a goal of X number of homes to put equipment in? This first generation of the program, it's going to be 500 plus homes in the Portside community that will receive equipment. So, are there numbers, or what's the scale of that we're looking for the next generation of the PAIR program? So just, thinking about those things, and then, as part of this expansion and what we wanted to bring up today, if the program's going to expand, right now we're trying to figure out where the money to expand the program could come from. So we could use money from the AB 617 program to fund an expansion of this program. We would, if we were to go ahead and do this, we would have to create submit a community identified project proposal to CARB. They would have to review that and approve it, and then in the sense it's in the SERP. If they approved our proposal, then we could use AB 617 money to expand the PAIR program. Up in the South Coast Air District, they have actually gone this route and used some 617 money already as well. So there is an residential air filtration program that's already being funded through 617 money. So it looks like we're getting some more hands. Not sure who was first.
Okay. Let's start with Maritza, since we haven't heard from you, and then John.
Thanks, Cherie. I just had a question in terms of expanding as well. Would that be able to include, it's not that common, but there are some houses that are a bit bigger that have multiple rooms. The purifiers are great, and there are still limitations on how accessible it is throughout the whole home. Would an expansion be able to include maybe getting multiple purifiers in a home, or are we mainly focusing on getting as many houses with at least one purifier?
No, I think that's a definite option, for sure. Because that's especially like a 2-level home. I mean, if the purifier's downstairs or upstairs, it's not helping the other areas necessarily.
Thank you.
John?
Yeah, my question is, and I asked David Alvarez this the other day, I know there's the possibility if your doctor signs off that it's medical necessity, that's a done deal. But it seems to me, because this is both a city, state, and if you will, a federal issue, okay, that there should be monies available. I mean, we are a strategic port, no question about it. My question then has to be that if we're going to remain that way, okay, and with all the truck traffic and everything else that we get, shouldn't we be able to, reach out for, some specified funding to correct this problem?
Yeah, and I think we're looking at, any funding stream that potentially could help fund the expansion of this program.
Any other comments or responses to the questions on the slide? Nick?
Yeah, just I wanted to elevate, I think I remember seeing in the SERP references to air filters at our schools. And so I'm not sure if I know the focus so far has been on like residential homes, but I wonder if part of the focus moving forward can be making sure that our schools have those filters also, especially given that our kids, some of our more vulnerable community members, spend most of their time on campus. And so, yeah, just kind of proposing maybe that can be an additional focus for this program moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. And yeah, schools, community centers, libraries, places, gyms and physical activities happening. Yeah, it definitely makes sense.
I will add a real quick note that we can currently fund school filtration systems with the AB 617 money. So if there are schools that are interested, we'd like to talk to them and see if we can get an application together so we can use that targeted money specifically for them. But I really do like the idea that Eric was mentioning too about maybe expanding that and talking about other places where children in particular get together. So we could definitely take a look at that.
Thank you. And John, is that still your hand raised from before?
Yeah, just so that you know, to your panelists there, I work with 10 different schools, and the problem, and I'm a retired school teacher, but having said that, most of the systems in the schools, okay, for both air and heat come through a quote system that does not clean the air, okay? And there are units that can be attached to clean that air before it ever goes into the room, okay? And we need to do this, okay? And, I'm 73 and I believe all these kids are my kids. And we have to do whatever we can do to make a difference. And like I said, I'm just working with a handful right now, but we need to do this throughout the entire South Bay. That's the bottom line. And we need to do it as quickly as possible. Like I said, the filters are great, but they are very, very, in my opinion, inefficient because you get all this particulate matter all over your furniture, all over your clothes. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess in your home. And, kids are always, massaging the furniture and then licking their hands and stuff like that. It's huge. This is huge. And I've contacted many organizations that can supply this equipment and do it at a very, very reduced rate. And I would ask that you folks would contact me so that we can compare notes and get this thing on the road because it needs to happen quickly. Thank you.
Thanks, John. I'll definitely be reaching out after the meeting or tomorrow to try to get that information from you.
Anybody do want to do a quick time check? And we are nearing a little over the time for this item. So I'll hand it over to you, Eric and Kathy, to wrap this up.
All right, well, yeah, thank you everyone for your input with that survey, and I think we're happy with the results of that survey. So I think kind of the steps moving forward, we need to get that proposal together to submit to CARB, to get the process going about being able to use the 617 funding for potential expansion. And then, so I'm trying to think if I have forgotten anything, Kathy, that we needed to discuss.
No, I think that's it. I think, yeah, I would just echo thanks to all of you for your help talking about this. And we're going to take this feedback back and we'll take a look at creating the program. And I'm sure we'll be talking to you more about it in the coming months. So just a really quick thank you for sharing your ideas with us today. We appreciate it.
Great, thank you both. And moving along to our next agenda item, I want to welcome the folks from CARB who are here to answer any questions on the executive summary and Q&A document that was shared out before the meeting. Great. And can I confirm who from CARB is here, just so we have you all?
Yeah, we have
Good
Ping
here.
here. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Ping, to the group.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pindi from CAR. So I'm glad here to have a very short talk about our called QA documentation, whatever our report. So maybe a couple of minutes. It's pretty short. So back to 2017, CARB was committed to conducting a statewide model based on California Air Toxics Assessment, we call CATA, whatever. So which we update about 3 years. So next years sometimes we call triennial modeling, whatever. So with the Portside modeling, we are just trying to leveraging that the second iteration of statewide modeling with the emission and the meteorology of 2017 to support that the Portside surface goal number 6 and 7. So I believe we already shared our modeling results in about years ago. I think it's in May last 2020. And today I don't have any update to that presentation. So with that QA report or documentation, so our intention is to provide a summary of modeling results. So today I'm not planning to go through a whole report or, so I rather than just first, I just would like to mention a couple caveats with the modeling. Portside modeling is not the really health risk assessment or called HRA. So because that is based on a regional modeling approach. So which even it is detailed enough and they can provide information at the committee level. For example, our emission inventory is based on CARB's regulatory emission inventory, which aggregates emission to county level first, and then we have to put those emissions in correct location called a relocate emission. So it is more of called maybe top-down that approach to emission as opposed to a bottom up. That's typical we use in any community study, right? So this is negative emission difference may cause some, discrepancies in community level. So regarding that, how to best utilize that model results, I think this may already had some discussion with you. We recommend the model results best used in a quantitative or relative basis. So that, I'm sorry, that can inform which source category or pollutants contribute most to overall risk in that community, which then we can be used to prioritize the emission reduction strategy targeting that emission source most likely to have additional emission reduction benefits. So over time. So for future year, we also included for future year some projecting or estimate. So best way to just focus on those emission sources that are not already projected to decrease significantly due to current or existing regulation, policy, program, etc. So that's I want to mention to that report, to the POA report. In addition, I just want to tell, and sometime later this year, we will have fully documentation on statewide called CATA model. So that report, fully report will have much more technical details. So I just want to stop here. So in the questions, so you're open to any questions.
I have Sarah, followed by Jack, followed by Joy. Sarah?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It was a very interesting paper to read. It sounds like you're saying that a statewide model similar to this would be released soon. So we'd be able to see how the air quality in this neighborhood stacks up the air qualities in other areas of California.
Yes, yeah, that we call statewide majorly for 6 modern domain or big air basin, include your district, San Diego County, Imperial County, whole South Coast air basin, San Joaquin, Bay Area, and Sacramento.
Yes. Okay, and I have one question in the footnote on page 5. That's the explanation of the risk levels. And then it says, when they talk about 1 to 10 to the, excuse me, it says that this would be 10 new excess cases of cancer above the expected rate in parentheses, background of cancer in the population. What is that background rate? And is that the 950 that we see elsewhere in the document, or is it something else?
Background, you just which number 5, right? 950. Yeah, basically, because for that for statewide or for district, whatever. So we do have, especially for Portside community, we do have 2 separate analyses. First is called emission, include all emission sources, include those emission sources within that community and outside the community, even include some emission transport from Mexico. Yeah, so if we say we call cumulative. So if we include all emission sources from all sources, include inside and outside that the community. We may call that the risk or whatever exposure as a background. So, but we don't have exact definition for that. We just call normally we call that the cumulative. So.
Okay,
This
okay, so that number is though different in different communities across the state, right?
Yeah, you're totally right.
All right,
Yes.
thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Chewy?
Sorry, could you hear me?
Yeah, now I
Yeah,
can.
I can hear.
Oh, okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that presentation. Just one editing note on page, what is this? Looks like page 4, under question 2. I believe in the second line, that should be goal number 5. That's referenced as the cumulative potential cancer risk from all sources. And then in on down there, you refer to the local effects as being part of goal number 6. So goal number, I think that the first goal number 6 in line 2 should be goal number 5. So my question, does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, thank you.
Sure. So my question is this: as I look at the regional emissions analysis, I see that the overall relative impact from specific toxic emissions just from diesel's diesel particulate matter is 85.2%. If we look at the local emissions analysis, it shows that the diesel particulate matter is also the main driver for overall risk, but it only accounts for 76% of the overall risk. And what I was wondering is why there is a change of that magnitude between what is resulting in emissions regionally at 85% versus locally at 76%.
Oh, it's that it's this emission source different. I think additional, for example, overall versus local additional contribution of diesel, I might guess probably caused by some nearby that the committee, some mainly freeway that track and the bypass whatever. So that could be caused by that. I guess most likely come from the additional or just the freeway outside that community. Yeah, we can call that the transport. So for local, we just limit that emission within that community. So any emission outside that community, we did consider. So that's definitely some difference.
So does it follow that if we acknowledge that diesel particulate matter is the biggest impact on, is the one we're all concerned about for the most part, that's our priority toxic emission. If it is accounting for 85% of regionally in San Diego, meaning that another community might be more adversely affected as a percentage by the diesel particulate matter that it is experiencing in the community than what the Portside community is experiencing from local sources, where it's only 76%. So I guess I'm trying to understand, does this mean that there are communities that have a greater impact from diesel particulate matter?
Let's say that way, because that percentage is a kind of relative basis. So that because overall impact with different communities, the subcommittee is different from committee to committee, or block to block different, it's different. That is a cost overall. And then the percentage is based on within that the total risk of different emission sources contribution. So that is kind of relative basis.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. A good question, very good question. Yeah.
Thank you. Moving along to Joy.
Yes. Well, first I wanted to thank CARB for doing this health risk assessment. It is something that the steering committee asked for and that we feel like we needed to go ahead with the goal setting that we want to do. So we have some idea what we're trying to get to define, healthful air quality. And it does have lots of valuable information. So thank you for that. I had a couple of comments on the recommendations for how the information should be used that I wanted to share. Sure. And one is that, the suggestion or recommendation is that we use it to set our priorities, and that the priority should be the air emissions that are the high volume, high impact ones for the that are elevating the health risks for the average risk, for each census tract. And I think overall that makes sense. We want to be rational. We want to use our resources to attack the biggest things. But I guess I see a need for a refinement of that too, that if there are certain places where there are hotspots, where the risks are created by very perhaps smaller sources, but very close to the schools or residents, there could be situations where those would be a priority as well, even though they're not elevating the risks for the average. We're not saying, let's write off these people subjected to these hotspot areas because it's not affecting the health risk for the average census block or census tract. So I wanted to throw that in there, that, if monitoring or new facility hotspots report show elevated risks at certain locations, those could be a priority as well as the more big picture pollutants. So that was one comment. I wanted to say also that, the recommendation that we focus on things that are not already going to be addressed by state or federal level rules. I think it's important to realize that, the existing rules or rules that are coming up, for example, the Advanced Clean Fleets rule that will be heard by CARB on Thursday and Friday of this week. We can't assume that because something's happening in Sacramento that we automatically get emission reductions here. I mean, the community needs to stay involved and engaged to make sure strong rules are passed, that there's good enforcement, that there's funding for incentives and so on. So I think we can't just figure, we can check something off because there's a law in place and figure it's a done deal. And maybe that's not what you were trying to suggest in that recommendation, but I wanted to say that,
okay,
provide that perspective. So those were my comments. Thank you.
I think you raised very, very good comments. This is I think it's very interesting. I could quickly tell you, I totally agree with you. Even some local smaller facility may cause some localized high spot impact that is under the AB 2580 hotspot program. Yes, I totally agree with you. And for your second question, I also, yes, you're totally right. And then state has different program in the specific target advanced clean. So we in that report you may see one projection for future year, let's say for 2037, and the DPM from on road will be significantly decreased. So that due to CARB some regulations. So yes, so some emission sources such as marine vessel, whatever, or PRE, whatever, in the relatively speaking, that percentage could be increased. So that percentage just mentioned could that definitely change with time being. So you're totally right. I think you raised two very good comments. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more questions from folks on the committee or folks from the public? And I do want to recognize that this was a very technical report and oftentimes difficult to understand for folks not in this field. So definitely encourage folks to write down anything you didn't understand and send it over to us, and we can determine what type of educational materials we can prepare so folks can better understand these types of materials.
Okay, that's good. Okay.
John?
Yeah, I'd like to just piggyback off what you said. I've been asked by many of our community members, number one, what is particulate matter? How big is it? And I realize that, a lot of our folks are very, down to earth. Many of them, need visual aids, okay? To understand what the problem is. I think it's very helpful if we're talking about a particular area that is heavily impacted, that we have some kind of a map, if you will, designating that community and what level of particulate matter and other types of conditions need to be resolved. Once again, having a visual is very, very important.
Okay, that's a good question. So, typically we consider diesel particulate matter with kind of diameter less than 10 micrometers. More, I think we do have statewide some analysis. So about the amount DPM called DPM 10. So about over 96% of them are diesel PM 2.5. That means is the diameter is 2.5 microgram per meter. Sorry. In the, I think I don't know. There's some study also shown of certain percentage, pretty high percentage of particle diameter less 0.1 microgram micrometer. So it's pretty small. That's the reason that the DPM is more easy penetrate to human bodies, special non. So that's the reason that causes some the damage to human body, whatever. So organism cell, whatever. So, I that's your question, or I may. That's what they will ask.
I was just going to chime in and say there was a graphic in one of the earlier slides that compared diesel particulate matter to the size of a human hair. And I know that we saw that in one of the earlier presentations. Maybe that'd be helpful to resurrect.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. I think we have made a presentation to your community. I think you may a couple of years ago, and that I vaguely remember that one slide showed that the comparison with the hair. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I would like to add if visual aids is something and like specifically that there's something that the community needs, you can always let us know and we'll come up with something.
Will do.
And I know right now we have, you know, the expert here today, but if anyone here hasn't had the time to read through the entire, 20 pages that this article is, because we all have jobs, you can always read it and you can always email us and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have as you go through it as well.
Great. That was going to be my question, actually. As we wrap up this item, if you all could share the contact information where folks can send additional questions once they've taken a chance to look through it more closely, that would be great. And thank you both so
Okay,
much.
I'll add it to the chat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Moving along, I wanted to hand it over to the Port of San Diego team, who will be answering any questions on the health risk assessment document that was also shared out prior to the meeting. And if y'all can provide just a quick overview to bring folks up to speed and provide some background, that'd be great.
Sure. Happy to do that. Thank you, Chewy. Good evening, everyone. My name is Peter Eicher. I'm a program manager with the Port of San Diego working on the Maritime Clean Air Strategy. Happy to be here tonight, talk about some new educational materials that we've released in support of the health risk assessment that we published last summer. Just as a little quick reminder, quick context, remember that the Maritime Clean Air Strategy is just that. It is a strategy. It's a strategy document containing over 30 initiatives aimed at reducing diesel particulate matter from 7 different source categories. We're trying to improve air quality and modernize our maritime operations. So in addition to taking proactive steps to transition away from diesel, such as purchasing zero emission equipment, installing infrastructure, the MCAS also has a research component. And this research provides information not only for port decision makers, but also for the general public. The health risk assessment is one such example of the research that we've done. It's a first of its kind study for the Port of San Diego. It estimated health risk outcomes associated with the port's 2 marine cargo terminals, as well as the Coronado Ferry. As has been kind of discussed, these health risk assessments are pretty complex, and sometimes we get the results and they are just not very intuitive. They just really don't measure up to what we think they should be. And this has happened in our study as well. We first released a preliminary report back in October of 21. We got a lot of feedback from many members in this group and other community groups, and we redid some of our analysis. Those results did change, and we did publish those final results last summer, as I was just mentioning, in July. But after releasing that report, guess what happened? We got more questions, and that's just kind of the nature of this thing. We ask questions, we do research, we answer them, we get more questions, and it kind of just keeps flowing like that, keeps going around and around. But what we've done in staff, we've tried to create what we've called a fact sheet and a frequently asked questions document to really try to our hope is to communicate the results of that study and the methodology and whatnot in a more clear, plain, just kind of simple language way to do it. Now, I just want to be clear that the HRA analysis has not changed. The results remain the same. The HRA remains on our MCAS webpage on the Port website. But these new materials, the fact sheet and the FAQ, the frequently asked questions, again, are just our attempt to better communicate the results of that report. Some of the questions that came up from when we published that last report were there were about 2 different kind of buckets of questions, I would say. First was about the methods to estimate the risk. We got questions about how do air quality models work? What's the information that goes into them? Did we analyze the mobile sources properly? The second batch of the questions were really about the results themselves. How do we interpret these results? How do we compare them to other studies? How are we going to reuse these results? And boy, we really want you to do more modeling. So again, this is really, not the full list of questions. It's kind of the 2 main buckets of questions that we received. So we do have this fact sheet. It includes the basics of our health risk assessment and the basics of the results from that port study. The frequently asked questions, they address the questions that we heard from this group, other groups, and it provides a brief response Sometimes those questions, we refer folks to particular sections of a report to really get more of the information. So much of the results and so much of the information is technical, it's nuanced, and it can be very challenging to provide just a really simple, straightforward answer. So in that, both documents, they don't go into a lot of detail. They're really just intended to provide some basic information and respond to some of those questions. Again, if you're really interested, you go back to our website, get in that document, read some more yourself. As Chewy was saying, there was English and Spanish versions that were sent out in advance of this meeting. Those are also on our website. And I will put them in the chat, but there's a couple easy ways to get to this information. So one is portofsandiego.org/MCAS. That is our web page. Easy to remember. Again, it's portofsandiego.org/MCAS. As far as getting to any questions that you have on anything maritime clean air strategy related, whether it's the health risk assessment or anything, we have an MCAS email address. So very easy to remember that as well. It's mcas@portofsandiego.org. You can send your questions there. That goes primarily, I monitor that, but also there's a big team that we have at the port. We have specialists in all of these different areas of that we're working on. And so we'll get back to you with whatever information that we have and try to answer your questions. So that's my brief kind of intro and context setting. I hope people had a chance to look at these materials and found them educational and helpful. And that was really our point. And I thank you for your time this evening. If there's any questions, I'm happy to give it a go.
Thank you for that, Peter. If you have any questions for the Port of San Diego, please raise your hand and I'll follow you based on the order you show up. Great. Sarah, followed by Montserrat.
Hey, Peter, I don't have any questions, but I did just want to commend the port for doing a really nice job on the materials. I like the way the material was printed out, very easy to digest, and the infographics were helpful. So I just want to say, it's difficult to present this information, I think, in a clear way, and I think the port did a very good job.
Excellent. Thank you for that feedback. Really appreciate it.
Great. Montserrat.
Sí, yo creo que de este documento algo que vi que no se tiene es el registro de los camiones que entran y salen de las instalaciones del puerto. Entonces, ¿para cuándo se va a tener ese registro? ¿Hay alguna fecha que ya la tengan, una fecha límite para eso? Y yo sé que este documento tiene que se está actualizando por lo mismo, ¿no? Que dice que hay nuevas informaciones. Entonces, ¿para cuándo vamos a tener información más actualizada de este documento? Gracias.
Yes, thank you. Yes. So the port is actively working on what we're calling a truck registry. And this is an automated system that we're putting in place so that we can get better data for the trucks that are entering the ports, or two marine cargo terminals. The exact mechanics of it, I don't have the details for you on that, but I can follow up on that. I do believe our target is to get that in place by the end of the year. And that will give us information on the specific trucks, as well as the volume of trucks that come through. On the fact sheet, on the second page, we do have those emission sources that are analyzed. And the health risk assessment was based on 2019 information. And we are currently now redoing our emissions inventory. So we are updating our emissions inventory information. And we do plan to use that moving forward, potentially next year or the one following, with an updated HRA, as well as looking forward in 2025 and 26 to updating the maritime clean air strategy overall. So I don't have that information for you today. It's in the works. And as soon as we get that data information, we'll be certain to come back to you all and let you know when and where it's available. And most likely it would be on our website. I will say that I think that there's a potential that some of that information that's getting pulled will probably be aggregated and so that we can kind of protect the privacy of some of the individual truckers. But I think that's also being worked out currently.
Great, thank you, Monserrat and Peter. Next in line, I have Nick, followed by John.
Hi, Peter. Thank you for the presentation. You know, my contribution to this conversation is kind of two-parted. One, you know, I wanted to flag for the CSC members. We were able to pass along a comment letter that EHC submitted, commenting on some of the points of concern with the Port HRA, and that was shared with folks before the meeting today. And kind of on that, though, you know, I wanted to flag some issues that we hope can be addressed in future HRAs. Peter, I know you mentioned that there's going to be some coming up in 2024, I believe you said. So firstly, you know, yes, the registry data, getting an accurate count of the trucks entering, leaving the terminals would be very important. In addition to that, you know, one of the concerns that we elevated was including a projection for future growth as far as incoming tenants. You know, in the last year, we saw the potential or proposals from industries like Mitsubishi that would have contributed thousands of truck trips to the community. And so I think factoring that in any future HRA would be super important for us to understand as far as the overall cancer risk and health risks that our folks are dealing with. But yes, that's it for my comment. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. I did want to say that the registry is going to likely improve our accuracy, but we do count every truck that comes into the terminal and count every truck that goes out. It's really, from a maritime operations standpoint, it's really a kind of a security issue, you know, just basic needs to make sure people that are supposed to be on the terminal are, and then they're leaving, and we're not leaving anybody behind closed gates. So the registry information will be, you know, probably a little bit more accurate, give us a little bit more granular, more detailed information on the actual trucks that come in. But it's probably also just an animated system. It'll just be easier and more accessible. Just in terms of next steps, you know, we do try to address that in our frequently asked questions, a couple different questions around that issue about looking to the future. When we did our HRA, we projected, you know, the reduction in health risk with the implementation of the MCAS, but you're exactly correct that we did not also combine that with an increase in cargo growth. So that's one of the questions that we're going to be looking at. And I would imagine we'll be coming back to this group and other groups to kind of make sure we're asking the right questions. You know, the 10th Avenue Marine Terminal has a redevelopment plan that's been adopted many years ago in 2016, and it does look at quite a bit of more growth at that terminal as far as cargo throughput going through. But how fast and how, you know, slow that increase happens, we're not quite sure. So we will have to come up with some assumptions. Looking at that, there's also regulations out there in the future. We'll have to take a look at that, and when do they come online? There's also new technology. We know that there's a lot of designs out there. There's a lot of buzz around like hydrogen fuel cells and stuff like that. It sounds great, but we have yet to see something actually put in place. So you're right, there's a lot of different questions out there in the future. And as much as we can kind of answer those questions, help guide us to really making informed decisions that really address the issues of health risk, you know, we're all for it. And I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Thank you. John, followed by Sylvia.
Did you say John?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have lots of members that use the Cesar Chavez Park, which is right there, you know, next to 10th Avenue Terminal.
Yes.
And once again, you know, my biggest concern are all the children that are there in the park area. Now, there is another entry to the terminal further, if you will, north, down by the Dole folks. And what's the possibility of, if you will, opening that side up and, keeping the traffic away from the park, number one, but number two, keeping it out of the community. There's some other pathways that could be taken that would, in my opinion, keep it much cleaner, much safer. And if you folks would be willing to talk about it, you can contact me and we can go over that area. I know the area pretty well. So feel free to get a hold of Chewy, or I think I could send you probably some information. And let's take a little tour, because you guys are getting ready to fix the park. And of course, we want to make it as healthy as possible. So please get hold of me.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, thank you, John, for that comment. Yeah, there is a second gate. It's not the main gate. I think it is actually only used by Dole, but maybe that's something that can be looked at when the steering committee gets on that tour. That'd be a great thing for the committee to kind of get in that bus and take around that corner in that back area, and you can look at that corner. So thank you for that suggestion.
Also, I would like to be on that bus when we take that tour.
Indeed.
Great, thank you, John. Moving along to Sylvia.
Yes, thank you, Chewy. I just want to commend you, just a quick comment for preparing this. I know it could be very time consuming, and I'm very happy because I am in the working group for the MCAS. So I know that there's a lot going on there, but just seeing this one, I call it one sheet, but it's very good to the eye, straightforward. And of course, it's very valuable when, it hits your vision. And I'm very happy that this took place. Now, I know you mentioned that there are some updates. Of course, I'm assuming there's new tenants coming in. We have, for example, some old tenants, NASCO and VA systems. So I'm assuming that's going to be included as well. Do we have a deadline in regards to an updated HRA soon? I know it could be time consuming, but do we have a deadline?
At this point in time, I would say that we don't have a deadline, but it does need to follow some processes that we're doing right now. So as I was mentioning earlier, we are currently updating our emissions inventory. The work that was done for the current HRA was from 2019, and we're updating that with 2022 information. That's going to take pretty much the rest of this year to gather that information. And at that point in time, next year, we would be in a position to rerun the HRA analysis. My goal would be to finish it by the end of 2024, but as you said, some things can take quite a while, so I don't have a definitive end date for you. The current health risk assessment that we produced only looked at the 2 marine cargo terminals, which do not include the shipyards. That could be potentially included in the future, but as today, we're not thinking that we would include those, but that certainly is not an issue that is closed, and that's something that we could consider moving forward, basically expanding the area and the emissions that we look at. Of course, that would take more time and would take more funding, add another level of complexity. But none of us are afraid of hard work here at the port. So thank you for that suggestion.
Excellent. Thank you for the updates. We'll be looking forward for those as well.
Thank you. Yeah, and I just wanted to, unless there's any more questions, I don't know, Phil, if you had anything to add. You're much more versed in that truck registry. So if I misstated anything, I know you put some information in the chat. So hopefully I didn't say anything too wrong.
No, it's all good. I just put information in there that our truck tracking system is slated to go live later this year, and that'll be helpful for us when we do these inventories so that we can better understand all the characteristics of the trucks that come in. Currently, we have to use modeling to do that, but if we understand their characteristics much better, it just improves our inventories as well as future HRAs. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate all your transparency and credibility to this.
Thank you.
Wanted to see if there are any more questions. Montserrat, I think I saw your hand earlier, but you may have lowered it already.
All right, well, if anybody comes up with questions later, I'm going to put our contact information in the chat and please follow up with us. We love to talk to folks.
Perfect. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Great. Moving along to our general public comment period. If folks have anything they want to raise or suggest for a future agenda item or recommendations for where to hold the in-person meeting in National City, everything is welcome. Great. Nick, followed by Jack.
Yeah, so I think actually for a couple of things. So the first, in National City, I think it would be really great to get an update from, I believe it's the Navy, about the Austal USA project in National City. And then also, I know there's a Sandag survey that's been circulating about their charging sites, and it would be great to kind of hear from them also.
Great, thanks, Nick. Jack.
Thanks, Chewy. I believe we had an air monitoring update planned for next month. Is that still on track for our in-person meeting next month?
Yeah, well, yes and no. So the plan is for the air monitoring subcommittee to take a look at the presentation first and their breakout group and provide suggestions to the air district on how to better communicate that data. So the presentation will be ready for that working group next month. And then the following month is when they would do the formal presentation to the full committee. And then the air district is planning to stay with that sequence in terms of having that air monitoring update after every in-person steering committee meeting, the month after every in-person steering committee meeting. Did that make sense? Sorry.
I think so. Is this air monitoring subcommittee, is this one of the subcommittees that we formed a couple meetings ago?
Yes.
Okay. So is there a reason why you wouldn't want to have that at a public meeting, an in-person meeting?
I think the point of that subcommittee was to help inform the air district the way they do that presentation, and then they would use that feedback to do it at the virtual public steering committee meeting. So in July is when they would do it to the full group.
Okay, it sounded like you were saying that this was going to be a kind of a standard practice, that the meeting after the in-person meeting would be the best time to present that. I would ask that they consider whether or not this is something important enough to actually be shared at an in-person meeting, just because it's pretty technical. It generates a lot of questions, and we all know how when we're all together in the same room, the same facility, the questions come more easily. It's just more engaging for everyone. So that would be my suggestion. So I'll leave that up to the committee. At that particular time we signed up for the committees, I actually signed up for another one. I would like to participate on that one. Do I need to contact somebody specifically about that?
No, I think next month they'll all be meeting at the same time. So I think it'll be up to you to decide which one to join or to split your time during that working session. The SERP implementation committee is also meeting monthly outside of these steering committee meetings. So that's all.
Okay, so is it the plan that the entire meeting next month will be taken up with these subcommittee meetings?
No, we have we're estimating roughly 45 minutes to be dedicated to the subcommittees meeting. The other items will be open for presentation items and discussion.
Okay, because I had some more questions regarding the CARB report and would like an opportunity to address those again, but I can talk more to you all about that. I don't know if other people felt the same way, so I'd hope we could actually get that on the agenda for next month as well. Last question, Chuy, has the district been able to provide all of our committee members with the opportunity for that training session that we all decided a couple of years ago was so important for all of our steering committee members?
I have not gotten an update on that, but can certainly check in with Domingo and them, since I know there are materials available and should probably be pretty easy to get together.
Okay, thanks. That would be helpful to know, because I know we've changed and had some turnover in representatives, and just we've seen that when we just know that training aspect is so important, particularly as we get into discussing implementation of the SERP and so forth, or even just the report from the committee with regard to the air mission. And again, I assume that the ACLIMA study is going to be included in that. Okay, great. Thank you. That's all I had.
Yep.
Great.
Thank you so much. Great. Any other public comments folks want to make?
I would like to add something, Chuy, if I may.
Yes, and sorry, who's speaking?
Sorry. I'm sorry on my camera.
Is
It's
it Marisa? Oh,
no,
Adriana.
it's Adriana, yeah, from CARB. I just
go ahead.
wanted to remind everyone that the California Air Resources Board, aka CARB, is taking 2 proposed regulations to our board this Thursday and Friday, and they're pretty big regulations that we're taking this week to our board. So I put some info in the chat that has a link as well, and it's for a proposed regulation in in-use locomotive and the advanced clean fleet. So I think the cutoff for submitting written comments is tonight at midnight. So if you haven't provided comment, you have until tonight to do so. So I just wanted to remind folks to check that out if they can, because it's they're pretty big proposed regulations that are going to be brought to the board this week. So that's it. Just a heads up.
Great, thanks for raising that, Adriana. Phil?
Thanks. I have a quick question for Adriana. I should be looking at these agendas. I didn't know that the in-use locomotive regulation was going to be heard by CARB. Do you know which one is going to be heard first, the locomotive regulation or the advanced clean fleet regulation? Are you muted?
Thanks. So the in-use locomotive regulation should be brought up Thursday at 9 a.m.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any last calls for public comments? Great, hearing none. If anything comes up, as always, feel free to send me an email and I can raise it to Domingo and Monique. And I've written down all the suggestions in terms of agenda items and sequencing of agenda items as well. But thank you all very much for your participation today and all the great questions and feedback on all the initiatives related to the SERP. Thank you, everybody, and wishing you all a happy 10 minutes back to your evening.
Thanks, Joey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good meeting tonight.
Buenas noches. Gracias.
Thank you. Gracias.